Giagwich is Misha, Tanya O'Callaghan, and you are watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, I'm John Liebman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. Today we are on location in Hollywood, California with the one and only Tanya O'Callaghan. How you doing?
Hey man, I'm very good. Thanks for having me on your bench.
Well, thank you. Well, it's not my bench, but I'm just using it.
You own it.
I do for the moment anyway. Boy, you've got an interesting background. You're a long way from home. You come from Ireland.
I come all the way from a little town in Ireland called Mullingar.
Okay. Boy, I'm going to have you talk as much as possible in this interview because I like the way you talk. Let's start from the early years. I'm interested in your musical surroundings. What your first recollections? Your mom, your dad, records in the house, brothers and sisters, instruments. How would you describe your musical upbringing?
Well, basically, my dad has an amazing vinyl collection that I wasn't really conscious of growing up, but I think it was like subconsciously it seriously affected me now when I think back as an adult and a musician, because he had all the classics. He had Floyd and Zeppelin, he had everything country, rock, had it all, and he was always playing vinyl, so I really feel like being surrounded by that, because I didn't come to actually playing an instrument till relatively late, but he also was like a promoter, so I was around bands and I was in venues a lot, so I was kind of absorbed in the industry, but didn't play until I was about 17. But I think because I was like listening to all these genres growing up without thinking about it, it was just there and embedded in me, and my knowledge of bands from way before I was ever born is kind of like, how do I know that? My dad's vinyl collection.
So looking back on those early years, were there any bands in particular that really hit the spot with you, that you really got into, that you really enjoyed?
I mean, I've always been a very phasey person, so I was really into heavy music when I first started. My first band was a metal band.
Which band?
We were called, well, the
your
band
band.
I was in,
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
I mean, I was listening to all sorts. I was listening a lot to like Sepultura and Pantera and all the classic heavies. And then my cousin had a metal band in town called Severed. And I didn't really play. I'd been playing like a month or two, and they were like, here's a bass and a pick. So that's how I started playing bass. I had sang backing vocals before that. But yeah, that was my first experience of heavy stuff at the start.
Well, once you started playing bass, did you tune into the bass on records and on songs and on the radio? Well, which bass players influenced you?
Well, basically what happened was I decided when I was about, I think I was 16 or 17, that I wanted to be a drummer. I didn't play any instrument at this stage. I was always attracted to rhythm, kind of just naturally. So I didn't have a drum kit, and I went to a local music school that didn't have an acoustic kit. They had an electric kit, and I didn't like the feel of it, so I got all like, I don't want to be a drummer anymore. So then, anyway, I always tell this story because I walked into one of the side rooms where a local musician was, Niall Master, an incredible bass player from my town, and I seen him play. I'm pretty sure it was Primus, and he was also playing like some Tool stuff, and I had never realised that bass could be all of that. I'd only ever heard people play sort of root notes. I was so intrigued, and he was playing like harmonics and stuff. So from that moment on, I was like, I want to play that. And yes, from there on, every time I listened to something, suddenly bass was like standing out more, and I was really listening, and I was like hands on the table going, oh my god, you can feel bass in everything.
It's a great instrument, isn't it?
It kind of is the best.
Well, how about your career? How did that get rolling?
It was the maddest sequence of events when I look back, because I started to play relatively late, but I got like really into it really quickly, and I went to a local music course. It was just like a local, it wasn't like a college or anything, but there was no bass teacher, so I'm self-taught, but the guitar instructor there was like super encouraging, so he started to give me charts early, and he started to like expose me to like a lot of old school stuff and got me into a little bit of jazz and blues, so he really started to open my mind. And then I just started to ask like all the bands if they needed a bass player, or I would just like show up and, hey, you need a bass player. So Ireland's relatively small, so I was always playing with a couple of bands at any given time, But I would have to like go home and get in the shed big time, because I'd sort of say yes to a gig and I might not really be able to play that music yet. So I gotta go home and panic and do that. So yeah, I kind of got involved with playing locally and like outside of my town and that from an early point. And then I got a call at some stage to do a TV backing band thing in Dublin. So I did that, and then out of that, the MD asked me to do another thing, and you know, it just spiraled from there. And then suddenly I was doing like a bunch of tours in Ireland, Europe, but a lot of TV stuff at the start, house bands. So you'd be like in the background and whatever artists were coming on the Saturday shows, and then they would say, hey, do you want to come and do the tour? So it all kind of happened very quickly.
And you relocated to America.
Yeah, well, like first came here in, I think it was 2008. I'm really bad with time. I was in a time warp. 2009. Anyway,
it goes faster as you
yeah,
get older.
really
I'm just
fast.
warning you.
warning taken. I got invited out here to do a project with Maynard Keenan, the frontman from Tool. So he was doing this awesome, well, it wasn't new, but it was like already in motion, called Pussifer, and it was sort of like a lot of guests were coming in, and I got asked, and I was really honoured. I came out to Arizona because I like one of my favourite bands when I started were Tool and A Perfect Circle, so to get involved in that circle was amazing. So I came to do that in Arizona, and I was there for like a month or so, and then I was up in Canada doing some stuff, and I just, when I left and went back to Ireland, I just had this like desire to go back to the US, because the scale of things, that the possibilities that were happening when I was there doing the stuff with Maynard and the guys kind of just, you know, left me dazzled. I was like, cool, there's so many people out there I could play with.
But you had a specific reason for coming to the U.S., and I'm just wondering, you're in Ireland. London is a little more than just up the road, but might that have been an obvious choice to go check out that scene and see if you can break in?
Yeah, I did. I went to London a couple of times, but I've always just been the type of person that wants to do like the hardest way possible. I don't know why. It's like kind of a strange trait, but I just got I came out here on a whim. LA was, I don't know why I picked LA originally, but I remember just waking up one day in my hometown and being like, I think I'm going to go to LA, and then that was it. So I came out.
Your family was supportive?
I mean, they're used to me pretty much doing like,
okay.
They're like, what? Why are you going to LA? I don't know yet.
Okay.
I'll find out when I go to LA.
Well, what about right now? What's keeping you busy these days?
A lot of random stuff.
Okay.
I tend to be in studio. The last 4 or 5 months is a lot of studio, because you know, you do one session and then the engineer has another session going on, and I do a lot of local gigs in LA, but it's all like, you know.
What kind of sessions?
I tend to end up in a lot of like R&B, pop, kind of funky, some rock, even though like people tend to think I'm like a rock chick for some reason, but I actually play very little rock, ironically. And then I'm finally working on my own stuff, because I was on tour solidly for the past 2 years pretty much with a show, and when I came off that I was like, right, I gotta start working on some original stuff. So between that and a bunch of sessions and doing like, I go back and I'm doing stuff in Europe here and there, so like flying and playing bass all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about your equipment.
I have Warwick, which is my amp that I use, which is the LWA 1000 watt head that they brought out recently, and it's so awesome because it is so light, and it's one of those things, the more years that go on, if the gear is light, it's like win-win.
But it sounds great too. Everybody loves that amp.
I love it, and I love it
That's
so
the one that Jonas Hellborg designed.
Yes, Jonas. And I met him when we were in Germany recently, and he's like, I'm working on something new. Yeah. Like, oh, keep me posted.
What are you playing through that amp, Tanya?
As I was going to say, so perfectly matched with my incredible exotic bass.
Exotic.
And I just came from Chuck Rainey's class, as I was telling you. And I play Chuck's Custom, which is an exotic, and it's incredible. It's like a J and a P had a baby and had this beautiful thing. And it's the XPJIT, 1T, should I say, a lot of letters, but it is really, really an astounding bass. It's so versatile. I use it on pop stuff, I use it on funk stuff, I use it on R&B. All the gigs that I do seem to just, this bass, I used to have like, you know, I'd bring 2 or 3 basses to each session. This bass just pretty much
4-string?
Yeah, 4-string. I spent the last 2 years playing a 5-string on the show I did, and when I finished that show, I was like, oh, I gotta get back on the 4-string, because I mean, I'm a bit of a purist at heart.
What kind of strings do you use?
I use Dunlop Super Brights.
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
I recently went with Dunlop and I absolutely love them. They're like incredible. I have the Marcus Miller ones and then I just have the Super Brights.
Great combination. How about the future, Tanya? What else would you like to do? You've done a lot already, but it looks like you're still pretty much near the early part of your career with a whole lot more ahead of you. What do you hope to do in your career?
I'd like to get working with some more US artists because most of my background in touring has been Europe, Ireland, UK. So it'd be really nice to like just kind of solidify being here by doing a US tour. And I mean, I love playing all styles. So I'm hoping something really fun comes up next year. I go home now for Christmas and that, and then I come back for NAMM. And usually after Namuary is the time you set your year up. So I'm just hoping it's going to be a fun 2016.
Yes, I'm sure it is. Last question, Tanya. What would you be if you weren't a bass player? Something outside of music.
I would absolutely, definitely be a full-time animal rights activist because that's what I do anyway.
Okay, that is very important.
Pretty much, it's like animals and music are my thing. So yeah, and I do that anyway. So I'd probably just be more in that. I'd probably just be and like I'm big into like nutrition and health coaching and stuff, and I already do that. So I guess I would just be more in that field, but. I like to level it out with bass playing.
Those are good things, very inspirational. Well, Tanya O'Callaghan, great getting to know you. Great catching up, and boy, I look forward to, I have a feeling we're going to hear and see lots more of this lady right here. Tanya O'Callaghan, remember that name. On location in sunny Hollywood, California. I am John Liebman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.